Good afternoon, Turks and Caicos. It's Monday the 3rd of October 2022 and I'm here to update you on incidents of the last 24 hours which tragically resulted in the deaths of 3 people with 5 others injured. The timeline of events are as follows. The first targeted attack occurred on a vehicle containing staff from a local business and 2 tourists who were being transported back to their accommodation after an excursion. This happened around 6 p.m. yesterday in Long Bay Road and was committed by armed criminals in a vehicle. These criminals proceeded to indiscriminately shoot into the vehicle transporting the employees and the tourists. As a result of this attack, 2 persons were murdered, one from the local business and the other being a tourist from the United States. Our deepest condolences go out to the families of those who were murdered. 3 other persons were injured, including the other visitor to the Turks and Caicos Islands. The next incident involved a police patrol car of the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Tactical Unit, which intercepted the vehicle used by the criminals in the first attack. Based on information received from the command centre, the suspected vehicle was followed and tried to evade the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force officers. The criminals started shooting in the direction of the police officers with automatic weapons. Their bullets repeatedly struck the police vehicle's windscreen and bonnet area multiple times. Bullets also deflated 2 tyres of the vehicle driven by the police officers. Despite being under fire from automatic weapons, 2 of my officers returned fire to protect themselves and that of their colleagues. One officer received a serious injury from a gunshot wound. I cannot speak highly enough of the officers who came under attack and who, when they could have retreated or taken cover, stood their ground and returned fire. Frankly, this is an astonishing display of courage under fire from high-powered weapons by the officers. Based on the injuries sustained throughout the shooting and the condition of the police vehicle, the vehicle containing the criminals escaped and the officers immediately sought medical help for their seriously injured colleague. The third incident saw a man present himself at the hospital with a head injury. Whilst he was found at Smart Supermarket, it is believed at this stage that he was struck by shots discharged by the criminals in their confrontation with police officers. The fourth incident we are actively investigating is a report of an unidentified male body in Dockyard. While subject to confirmation, we believe this to be one of the armed attackers who was shot by police officers during the attack on the police vehicle. In summary, the explosion of violence last evening, perpetrated by these reckless and dangerous armed criminals, resulted in the death of 3 people, including the man believed to have been shot by the police officers, with 5 more people being injured. I believe the original attack was targeted and carried out by armed gang members who act without conscience, who have no regard for life, and who are hell-bent on causing indiscriminate harm and misery across the TCI. This violence, we know, is linked to drug supply and is fueled by revenge, turf wars and retribution. As the Commissioner of Police, I'm vowing that the Royal and Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force will fight any threat by criminals to attack law enforcement officers and the law-abiding citizens of the TCI. The Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force are of course not going to break any laws, but we will act within the confine of the law when dealing with gangs threatening to destabilise these beautiful by nature TCI with their nefarious and illegal violence. It will simply not be allowed to continue. The Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force assures the law-abiding citizens that law enforcement officers will defend themselves and the country to the fullest. We know our communities are shocked and frightened by the levels of violence on the TCI in the last few months. The levels of violence would challenge a police force many times the size of the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force. However, the police officers that serve you in the Turks and Caicos Islands are not cowed by this violence or the violent criminals, and we remain strong and determined to do all they can to take the fight to the violent criminals and protect our communities. I salute the courage shown last night by my officers in the face of the highest threat. The officers deserve the prayers and the support of all communities for what they're doing to protect the Turks and Caicos Islands. That said, we need support, and I expect to see a very substantial support arriving on the TCI from across the region and the UK. This support will be in the shape of armed officers and investigators to assist the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force deal with the current threats. I'm grateful to the TCI and the UK governments for their support, and also to the Government and Commissioner of Police from the Royal Bahamas Police Force.